All right, happy Friday, everybody. I'm glad we made it to Friday. Looking forward to the weekend. Today, we're going to talk about types of maps. So, question I want to pose to you all is: how are different types of maps distinguished? How do we know one type of map from the other? It's all the world, right? I mean, yes, but no. So, we're going to talk about it. So, first up, we've got the world political map. Political maps show countries. They show countries, states, cities, basically the world according to governments, right? They have national borders, they have state borders, they have all that good stuff. Because if you look at the Earth from space, these lines aren't there. These national border lines, they're not there. So when we look at a political map, it's showing borders that have been drawn by man over the centuries. These maps are usually colored by country or by state. These colors make it easier to compare size, shape, location, that sort of thing. Bold letters often make country names stand out. I'll show you that on the next slide. Symbols make it easy to tell capitals from other cities. On political maps, most of the time, a city is just going to be a single black dot with a name next to it. And a country capital is more often than not going to look something like a star with a circle around it. They kind of vary a little bit, but that's generally what they tend to look like. Um, Political maps also name certain physical features such as rivers and lakes. On a political map, it's got to be pretty deep, pretty big, pretty important to be labeled. Like the Mississippi River would be one. The oceans obviously would be some. Excuse me, but um, they don't get too into physical features on political maps. So here is a very difficult to see. I'm sorry I couldn't blow it up anymore. Political map, but as you can see, kind of this says Russia, so it's really big, bold on the map. You can definitely tell, like, oh, that's Russia. And all these countries are different colors, so you can distinguish them. These dots that you see in countries like here and here and here and here, those are cities. And then right there would be where Washington, D.C. is, and you would find a star with a little circle around it. So that's the world political map for you. Now we move on to world physical, right? So physical maps show what the surface of the Earth looks like. This is kind of if you're looking at it from space. Um, Physical maps have colors that make natural patterns stand out. They have colors on the map that stand for different types of vegetation, mountains, and other natural features. Names of big natural features are easy to see, so we're obviously going to have the names of mountain ranges, the Rockies, the Appalachians, the Alps, the Urals, the insert mountain range here, right? They're all going to be there, and so are a lot of other natural features that are on our planet. Physical maps also include some political information such as boundaries. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It really all depends on the map. So here we've got a world physical. You can see here, you can clearly distinguish mountain ranges. You can distinguish here this jungle kind of flat area. You can distinguish here a lot of mountains and things like that. You can distinguish kind of where some plates are. And yeah, it's just a lot more detail oriented as far as the features of the Earth and not necessarily looking at the physical boundaries. So that's a world physical map. The oceans of the world, obviously, I know this is review, but the world has four major oceans: the Atlantic, the Pacific, which is right here and right here, the Indian, which is right here, and the Arctic, which is up here to the what? To the south? South? No, to the north, right? So, those are our four oceans. Now we talk about global climates. Um, as we all should know, but we'll review, the Arctic and the Antarctic, very cold. As you move toward the equator, which is this line right here in the middle, right? The middle of the Earth, stuff gets warmer. And if you go this way, it gets warmer, 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 then colder, 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 and vice versa. So as you can see, jungles, rainforests, right? They're going to be on the equator right here in South America, in Africa, and in Indonesia. So temperatures get warmer. Here we have humid subtropical here in the southeastern United States. When it gets hot, it gets real hot and real humid. And then up here, we've got subarctic in Canada, subarctic in Russia and Mongolia. It looks like northern China. Semi-arid out through here and out in the Great Plains, Rockies area. So yeah. And that brings us to world religions. World religions is extremely important, guys. In social studies, understanding someone's religion is going to help a lot when we understand the people and why they do the things that they do. And like I said here, religious beliefs help define a people's culture. So to understand a people, it is important to consider what religions influence that group. And here we've got this color right here, the yellows, Roman Catholics. You can see here in Canada, Western Europe, they're pretty dominant. One of the most prominent religions is Islam, whether it's Sunni Islam here in the orange, or purple is for Shia Muslim. So here we have that. And then in the gray, we have Protestant right here and right here. So yeah, and then we've got Buddhist and Hindu. We've got all sorts of different religions here in the world, which I love learning about different religions. I think it's awesome. If any of you guys ever want to learn about other religions, outside of what we're doing, feel free. I'd love to know what you're interested in. And so, yeah, understanding a different religion from yours and why they believe the things that they believe is going to help a lot when we look at history and we understand why people did the way they did, why people did the things the way they did, and for the reasons they did. So understanding world religions, where they are prevalent in the world, is going to be a huge help to us in social studies this year. So that brings us to a climate map. Climate of a place is the weather it has season by season, year after year. Rainfall and temperature are climate's main ingredients. Climate is affected by elevation, distance from the ocean, and latitude. So here we go with another kind of climate map. It's more color oriented. Tropical, purple to light pink, all right here where the what line is? The equator line is. Dry, deserts, Australia, the Middle East, North Africa, where the Sahara Desert is, here in Mexico, in the southwestern United States. Temperate, kind of where we are, kind of where Western Europe is, Eastern China, Southern China. Cold, Russia, Canada, all those different places. And then polar, right up here in the Arctic region. So this next one's kind of cool. It's called a land use resource map. And these maps show how land is being used, right, by people. Talking about vegetation, crops being grown, what part of it's forest versus what part of it's agriculture, mines and wells. It's used for city zoning a lot, which means, they want to see kind of what land is being used for what, so they can know where to make a city, where to build one. So here we've got a mineral map of the world. It's talking about, let's see here. This is oil. So if we go, we've got some oil in Texas, in northern South America, North Africa, the Middle East, over here in Southeast Asia a little bit, in Indonesia, which if you know anything about that part of the world's history, that is a big reason why it was colonized. This was originally called the Dutch East Indies. Now it's Indonesia, and oil was a big part of that. These red dots are silver. See some silver. There's some. See it's sparsed around here a little bit. And then uranium, got some in France, got some in Africa here. couple different places in Africa, actually. But oil, man, you look around, you just see a lot of blue, huh? A lot of blue, a lot of gold too, especially in Russia and the Kazakhstan area right here and all this. So that's a lot of minerals we've got, and a lot of people wanting to get to those minerals and use them and sell them, right? So that can create a whole host of issues, and a lot of times it could lead to a war or two, which we'll talk about later. Natural vegetation, talking about, let's see what we got here. Oops, I scrolled one too far. So this is just talking about kind of what kind of vegetation grows where. Got some deciduous woodlands over here. Um, got some tropical rainforest right here with the kind of burgundy color right there all around the equator. So there you go. That just kind of shows you what kind of natural vegetation grows where. A wind resource map. This is kind of cool. So it shows you what areas of the U.S. use wind power a lot, and what areas of the U.S. could benefit from using a lot of wind power. Out here in the West, the Midwest, guys, I've been out there. If any of you have been out there, you know this. But you'll be driving along the interstate and there are windmills. I mean, huge, 100 and something foot tall windmills, and they're just massive, and they're spinning like crazy. And they generate that wind power, right? Because it's super windy out there in the Midwest, out in Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, all those different types of places, Texas, super windy. So I mean, there are windmills everywhere. It was so cool to see because anywhere you look, they just go on for miles, and they're massive. And they're right on the side of the road too, which is cool because we were just driving and we saw them, and it was great. But this shows you, right? There's a lot of windmills right in here, and look at the colors right in there. So that kind of matches up with that. A contour map. So this is kind of cool. This was used a lot in the military, especially back, 50, 60, 70 years ago. They still use it in the military now, but a lot of things are digital. So if you were in an area and you needed to tell what was a hill and what wasn't, this is what you would use. So this is this, and this you can see 10, 20, 30, 40. So that's 10 meters at the bottom up to 40 meters high. This hill's 50 meters high. And that's kind of how that works. It's really neat. It's really cool once you get the hang of looking at it. Contour maps, I think they just look cool. They look kind of old school and like that. So I love contour maps. They're probably some of my favorites. All right, physical maps. There are different types of physical maps. So relief maps show difference in height between land, and elevation maps show the elevation or height above sea level. So this is a relief map right here. It's got like, here's the flat part of the island, flat-ish part of the island. Here's the tallest part right here. And then this is an elevation map right here. So you've got red is greater than, looks like 1,900 meters above sea level. So obviously this is sea level. The green is less than 300. So as you can see, as you move inland, you get higher and higher and higher until you get to this point right here. That's the highest point on the island above sea level. Elevation. Maps to show elevation change by using color shading, which you kind of saw back there on the previous slide. Topographic map. This is kind of cool. It's kind of like contours. You can see kind of, this is pretty tall. This is a hill. This is a hill. This is flat because there's no rings, right? So that's how you read a topographical map. The more rings there are around a certain point, the higher it is.